Okay. There are 4 factors of production. When we want to produce, there are 4 factors of production that we need to know. The first of these is labor. Labor is people, obviously. They work for a company. Yes. Right now, as I'm speaking this to you, I am labor. Your professor is labor. We're getting paid to create a service for you, education, which you, hopefully, are benefiting from. And you probably paid for. Capital. Capital is human-made goods used to produce other goods. So things that we make that we use to make other things. So whether it's a dump truck or a factory or the equipment in the factory or a hammer, those things are all capital. We don't buy dump trucks because we like dump trucks. We buy dump trucks because we have something to dump. We don't buy a hammer because we think hammers are beautiful and we put them on our wall. We buy a hammer because we want to hammer something. Capital is things that we make that we use to make other things. You'll hear capital, that capital term applied to money, right? The people go, oh, I need capital to start my business. Well, what is money other than something that's invented by people, made by people, that we use to make other things? Money by itself doesn't have any use. It's its ability to get other things that makes it useful. So money is capital, but it's financial capital where there's lots of other capital in the world, which is physical capital, like the factory, or the stuff that's inside the factory, or the dump truck, or the plane, or the train. Okay? Capital. Now, you're saying, why are we going on this relationship? Capital and labor, and how much each you have, and how they're coordinated and put together, is maybe the most important topic in all of this stuff. It's that how we use capital, compare it to labor, right? 20 guys with wheelbarrows versus one dump truck, which is going to carry more stuff, right? That's our issues. Okay, we have something called natural resources, which most economists also just use the word land for. So the cow and the ocean and the fish and the wheat and the cobalt, all those things are natural resources. They're the gifts of nature. Okay, so if you refer to the gifts of nature, you can say natural resources. You can also just call that all land. So technically the cow is land, even though you wouldn't think of it, and the ocean is a land. But they're natural resources or land. Who brings all this stuff together? Who says, hey, I'm going to mix together land and labor and capital. I'm going to produce something. Well, the person who does that is called an entrepreneur. It's French for undertaker, not somebody who plants you in the ground, but someone who does things. You might think of it also as the person who takes the risk taker. So it could be Henry Ford. It could be Magic Johnson. It could be Tony Stark. It could be Kylie, what's her name? All of those folks are entrepreneurs. They all mix together the land and the labor and the capital. And because they're starting this business, they're taking a risk, right? So Henry Ford wants to make cars for the masses. Magic Johnson builds movie theaters and other businesses in areas that traditional companies don't want to build in for various reasons. Tony Stark is Iron Man. Kylie there started a whole cosmetics line, yes? Probably has done some other stuff too. Okay? The entrepreneur takes the risk. The entrepreneur reaps the reward. The person who's working at the Bellagio the day it opens on the front desk, we don't know who they are, and they didn't make a lot of money. The person who risks things by building the Bellagio and saying, hey, I can build this giant hotel with fountains and an art gallery, and that person reaps the rewards. Okay? So entrepreneurs play this critical role. In a socialist society, who's going to do that? Who's going to say, hey, I have this idea for this new thing? If the system is such that you don't get rewarded for it, why would you do it? Now, some people would do it just because it's fun, maybe. But why take the risk? Why put your money in? Why take a risk? Why, if there's no reward for you? If there's no incentive? Remember, economists believe we're driven by incentives. Socialism has incentives. They're just a different set of incentives than capitalism has. And economists mostly believe that the incentives in capitalism are better than the incentives in socialism. It's not, again, not that socialism doesn't have incentives, but the socialism incentive might be not to work hard and not to stick your nose out and not to try new things. Where the incentive in capitalism is you're sitting in your dorm room one day and you're going, you know, it'd really be nice if there was an easy way to search the web, yes? And your roommate goes, duh, because he's from Russia. And so the two of you sit there in your dorm room and you invent something and you're like, okay, what should we call this? What should we call this? How about Google? Yeah, that sounds good. We'll call it Google. And not that long after that, sitting in their dorm room adventure, they're billionaires. That's a really strong incentive in capitalism. Yes? UNLV in dorm rooms, we invent things like diners, drive-ins, and dives TV shows, or restaurants, or actually we're Death Row Records was invented at UNLV in a dorm room. Okay? So, entrepreneurs take risks, reap the rewards, and our system creates incentives for that to happen. All right? Yes? Yeah. So entrepreneurship, these entrepreneurs, they're critical. Critical. Even if you know your history and we're talking about stuff, Malcolm X, if you know who Malcolm X was, Malcolm X thought the most important thing that we could teach black Americans was the importance of starting their own businesses. Because he recognized that the entrepreneur is the one, from taking the risk, they get to reap the reward. Okay? All right. So, how do things move through our system? Well, I know you're trying to draw this while I'm talking. If you want to do that, stop, pause, draw, and then come back. Don't try to write while I'm talking. Okay? I could have animated all this, but what's the fun in that? So let's start at the very top. There's a box called households. Households are economic entities that buy things, but they don't sell anything. So the household buys goods and services. They buy stuff, right? I'm a household. I buy chicken for me. I buy cat food for the cats. I buy electricity. I buy gas for my car. Okay? So over on the right-hand side, there's what we call goods markets. Those are the places where you buy and sell goods like gasoline, cat food, chicken. Okay? What happens is money comes from the household down to the goods market. That's the blue arrow. And the thing comes from the goods market up to the household. Exciting? Okay. Where did those goods come from? Well, they came from businesses somewhere. Business made, well, didn't really make the chicken, but a business grew the chickens and then put them in little packages and sold them to the grocery store, yes? So the firm here that makes chickens, red arrow, they send the chickens to the grocery store. The grocery store sends money back to the chicken company, okay? The business firm. So down here we have all our business firms. Business firms buy and sell stuff. They buy things, though, with the intent of selling them. Households buy things to consume them, to use them. How does the firm do its business? Well, it buys those four factors of production, right? It buys land and labor and capital, and it pays the entrepreneur too. All right? So we have on the left-hand side what are called factor markets. Those are where the four factors of production live. The labor market, the capital market, the market for all the different natural resources, the orange juice market, the chicken, right? All those natural resources. So again, the things, the workers, for example, are on that red arrow that goes from a factor market to the firm. UNLV buys me. I provide myself to UNLV. Money, not enough, in my personal opinion, but money comes from UNLV to me. That's the blue arrow. So in each one of these boxes, money's moving, right? Now, I get paid as a worker. I don't buy stuff as a worker. In factor markets, people sell themselves. But what do I do when I get home? Money from me, my paycheck, goes to me as a household. So there's me as a worker, there's me as a consumer. Me as a worker makes money. I send that money to the household. The household essentially sends me out in the labor market to work, and that's the blue and red arrows there. Okay, we call this the circular flow. And the point is that money keeps moving around this circle from the households to the markets to the firms to the markets to the households to the markets to the firms to the markets. And the money keeps moving through the system. And stuff moves through the system the other way. So workers and capital and goods and services are moving from the firms to the goods to the households to the factories to the firms to the goods to the... And the economy keeps working because all of this stuff keeps circulating through from all the different parts of the system. And again, it's prices and markets that are going to regulate this for the most part in our system. Okay. So how do we make this all better over time? Well, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that in the rest of this class, but what capital do we have? All right, our capital stock makes a huge difference. The more machines we have, how they are, what they are, that makes a huge difference to us. What natural resources we have may probably make a huge difference to us, right? We grow, the United States grows most of the wheat in the world. We're by far the world's largest producer of alcohol, of ethanol. We have tons of natural resources in the United States. And then, of course, technology. As we develop new technologies, things get exciting, and we can grow that circle and make it bigger. Okay? All right. So we're going to go off now and talk about market.